What if the most important part of a long trip wasn't the destination, but the lesson you learned just getting there? Today, we're going to follow an assistant professor on an epic journey from a remote part of Nepal all the way to a conference in India. And trust me, what he found out along the way says more about the future of education than any textbook ever could. And listen to how the professor, Damar Singh Saud, put it himself. He didn't just call it a trip. He said it was a deep discovery of educational vision, mental readiness, and cultural consciousness. So right from the start, you know this wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. It was a field study on what really makes an education system tick. So buckle up. We're following Professor Saad on a 56-hour odyssey across mountains, plains, and borders. And somewhere on that long road, he stumbled upon this incredible, stark contrast and how two neighboring countries see their most important resource, their teachers. All right, so the first part of the story has nothing to do with academic theory. It's all about pure grit, because the first massive challenge was just, well, getting started. I mean, just try to wrap your head around the scale of this. First, a 20-hour bus ride on these insane, winding mountain roads. Then, he crosses the border into India only to immediately hop on a train for another 36 hours. That's the level of commitment we're talking about, and he hasn't even gotten to the conference yet. A journey like that, it becomes a lesson in itself. It just goes to show you that the path to knowledge isn't always about being the smartest person in the room. Sometimes it's about pure resilience, patience, and just believing that where you're going is worth the struggle to get there. But the trip wasn't just this grueling endurance test. The stops he made, the things he saw, the people he met, they turned the entire journey into this amazing, unexpected classroom. And this is where things really start to shift. He meets up with a colleague, Dr. Jora Shinama. Suddenly, what was a solo trek becomes this rolling conversation. Hours and hours spent debating education, culture, and the very ideas they were so passionate about. The city of Lucknow wasn't just some layover, it was like a living history lesson. As he was exploring these incredible historical sites and just soaking in the local customs, he had this big realization. For any educator, being culturally fluent is just as important as knowing your subject matter. Okay, so after 56 hours of travel, you'd think he'd be completely wiped out. But when he finally arrived at the Royal Global University in Guwahati, all that exhaustion just melted away. It was replaced by this incredible surge of energy and inspiration. And just look at what he saw. This wasn't just a university. It was a statement. We're talking state-of-the-art libraries, dedicated research labs, amazing sports facilities. It was all proof of a massive, tangible investment in students. This was a vision of what's possible when a nation really truly goes all in on education. And right there, in the middle of this incredible place, Professor Saud presents his own research. And he found that the challenges his colleagues were facing back in Nepal with technology, well, they weren't unique at all. They were part of a global conversation. Turns out, educators everywhere are trying to figure out the exact same future. Okay, and this is where it all comes together. The entire journey, all the observations, they suddenly crystallize into this direct and honestly pretty shocking comparison between the education systems of India and Nepal. The difference Professor Saud saw was just stark. On one side, in India, he saw competitive pay, serious government funding, and a society that really respected its teachers. On the other side, in Nepal, he saw low wages, a lot of talk but not much action on funding, and a real lack of recognition. And this brings us to the absolute core of his discovery. Nepal should understand that education cannot be built on any new system without teachers. I mean, think about it. You can come up with all the new policies and reforms you want, but if you don't invest, support, and respect the actual teachers, none of it matters. So, that long journey back, as tough as it was, gave him something priceless: time to think, time to process everything he'd seen and boil it down into real, actionable lessons he could take back home. He realized the biggest difference wasn't just about money, it was about political will. In India, he saw that education was treated as the engine of the entire country's growth. Politicians weren't just making speeches, they were actively pushing policy because they got how important it was. So what do you do with a realization like that? Well, this journey inspired a super clear 4-step roadmap for change. Number 1, empower teachers with respect and good pay. 2, demand real political commitment, not just empty words. 3, invest in modern infrastructure. And 4,
build a system that actually rewards great teaching and new ideas.
So this whole incredible journey leaves us with a really powerful question. After everything Professor Saud saw, from those winding mountain roads to that shiny modern university, the answer seems pretty clear. Maybe the truest way to measure how much a nation cares about its future isn't in its big monuments or fancy speeches, it's in how it treats its teachers.